This is the Red Cow by Larry McWhorter. I almost put my rope on her once, but then I thought it through. I had my day in the sun long ago, so I left her for someone like you. Sounds to me like she run you off, I said to the silver-haired man. There ain't a cow brood anywhere that's too much for a hand worth his sand. We was talking about the old Red Cow, legend round these parts. It's been said she put fear and dread in the punchiest cowboy heart. An old barren cow had escaped all the drives because she was big, mean, and clever. The manager said she was 12 years old, but the old men said she'd been around forever. But legends don't scare a boy of 19 who thinks he's the pride of the nation. And I'm thinking if I pen this old cow, I'll sure have a good reputation. Where do I find that renegade beast, that scarlet scourge of the prairie? I'll lead her through the bunkhouse door. You'll think she was raised on a dairy. I'll bring her in and she'll wear a grin because she knows she's had her licking. Because I'm a hand from the faraway land where the hoot owls romance the chickens. A gleam appeared in the old man's eye. He was grinning a little too much. He says, I'll tell you where the Red Cow lives, and while you're gone, I'll carve you a crutch. Oh, and give me your address before you leave. You'll want me to write your folks. I left him there to amuse himself. I didn't care for his little jokes. Well, Sabbath's sun caught me riding old Gus, sneaking through the brush like a ghost, up in the mouth of that canyon where the outlaw had been seen the most. Well, I come upon an old dirt tank about halfway up that draw, and standing there for her morning drink was the biggest cow I ever saw. Her horns weren't tipped, she wore no brand, her ears were long and slick. She reminded me of old rhinoceros I'd seen in the Tarzan flick. Now I knew if I showed myself now back up the canyon she'd go, so I eased up high so's to drive her down. I'd catch her in the big flat below. Well, I cinched up a notch and shook out a loop and pulled my horn knot tight. Then I eased old Gus to the edge of the brush and showed myself ready to fight. Well, she throwed up her head when I come into view, and the startled look in her eyes, I had to grin, for my little ruse caught that wily Red Cow by surprise. She's scared and confused with nowhere to hide. I've wrecked her psyche, I think. Then she stood there, sized up her latest of pests, then calmly went back to her drink. Well, we sat there and stared at each other a while till that old cow drank her fill. Then ever so slowly she stretched out her back and ever so slowly started walking toward me up the hill. Her slow, steady pace betrayed no fear at all, like she had been through this before. Now that's when I started to doubt my own smarts as I pondered that Red Cow's lure. Her slow, steady pace turned into a trot. Then her mouth began to foam. The closer she got, the more that I wished that me and old Gus had stayed home. The walls of that canyon somehow looked steeper, and it looked a lot narrower too. My perception had changed on a whole lot of things, and my brashness I started to rue. I'd made my brag back at the ranch about the worth of a man who would balk. Now I found myself falling victim to my own yapping tongue's foolish talk. My moment of truth was on me now. My smarts was fighting my pride. That cow was locked in on me and old Gus. Then my outlook was rectified. The boss hadn't sent me out here on this wildcat venture as such. If she didn't bother him, then why should she me? One old Red Cow don't eat much. 50 feet between me and that cow, another thought entered my mind. There's many like me, but that old cow that I faced is one of the last of her kind. And who am I to ruin her fate, her freedom she's fought hard to keep? Far be it from me to ruin her life. Oh, I can pin her, but then could I sleep? I cringed at the thought of that grinning old man and the scorn I would see in his eye, but I knew I was right, so I tipped my hat as that famous red cow trotted by. Now the old man was waiting when I rode in, the bunkhouse door open wide. He said, I got things ready for you and your cow. A stool and a pail stood inside. Well, he rode me hard and he put me up wet till he saw my pride was full peeled. But the scorn I expected he never did show. He said, son, I know just how you feel. Now you're not the first to change your mind after doubting that red cow's lore. Few boys your age has dealt with her kind, and on her coup stick you're just one more. And there comes a time in every man's life when he must face his limitations. You feel like a fraud, but your judgment was sound. Son, you ain't no imitation. Oh, you talked a lot, but you took your shot. That's more than many have done. She force-fed you crow, but that's a taste we all know. So welcome to the humble ranks, son. Well, time's gone by, and I reckon she died. I know I never saw her again, but with all of my heart, I hope that old girl never saw the inside of a pen. And though she is gone, her legend lives on, and I'm proud to be part of her lore. For times have changed, and a brute of her kind is seldom seen anymore. And now the young sprouts ask me about that old cow. And tight-throated I think of that day. I recall my old friend and what he told me back then. And I grin at those pups and I say, I almost put my rope on her once, but then I thought it through. Thank you.